talk to me? Would you talk to me? Ooh, yeah, talk to me.
The truth about Richard Gibbs is he's a musical master. He's been traveling the world from an early age performing gospel music. His touch on the organ is only the beginning to this musical powerhouse. And musicians young and old have gained much listening to him playing over the years with the internationally acclaimed Reverend Milton Brunson and the Thompson Community Singers. When asked by many of his colleagues about their favorite organist, his name almost always headed their lists. Richard and I sat down to talk a little bit about his life.
How you feel, man?
Jay, I'm
Welcome
good,
to
man.
the show.
Yes, sir.
We just got a couple questions, and we're just gonna kick it. Now, you grew up Bronzeville community,
Right.
Chicago, South Side, 48th and Forestville.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
In our house, there was a lot of music. My mom was always singing and rehearsing. There was always musicians over, and I kind of got firsthand to watch, people like James Cleveland, Marvin Yancey. Those were all her accompanyists, and it was just a good learning ground, man. Just the best place ever to learn, about accompaniment and watch people play for a singer. And I learned a lot, man, in Bronzeville. Started playing for my first church at 7 from Bronzeville, and it was just a lot of music. Went to school there, did everything there.
Now, you started playing, you said your first church at 7. Was that Central Baptist?
No, my first church was Nazarene Deliverance Church of God in Christ.
Okay.
And actually, it was my first job, and they paid me a whopping $25 a week. And I played Sunday morning, Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Friday night.
Wow.
Every week. And it was great, man. Because I got to meet people. In the Church of God in Christ, they have, the Monday night state meeting. And
I know.
So by the time I became about 11 or 12, I was the state organist.
Wow.
For a 6th jurisdiction.
11 or 12. Oh, you guys were in 6th?
Yeah.
Who was the bishop at the time?
Bishop H.W. Goldsberry. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just, man, the Church of God in Christ was just the best place I could have grown up in church and just
grew up in Kojic as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand that.
Let me say, prior to that, my mom had us all at Redeeming Church of Christ, and that was also just a good breeding ground as well under Bishop James L. Anderson. So we were always in church.
Now, when did you start playing at Central?
I started playing at Central when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And Reverend Bates was just kind of like, the father I never had. I had a great father,
Right.
My stepfather, but just in music and in church, he was just a great mentor, and he was just a person who was very patient with me,
Okay.
and I needed a lot of patience in my teen years.
Let's talk about this. You are really, and in the eyes of most, gospel music royalty. Your father, Richard Gibbs Sr., was a part of the Soul Stirrers.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my dad passed away in 1964, so I was 2 years old when he passed away. And honestly, I have 2 or 3 memories of believe it or not, at 2, just of little things happening with him. And I actually talked to my mom about him a lot. But every person that I've ever spoke to said that he was a very laid-back, compassionate guy. He was a good writer. My dad was a guitarist, and that was thrilling to know. And he was a background guy. He was a guy always in the back. He wasn't the lead singer. Right. He wasn't that whole thing. And I think that may be why I I'm so comfortable in the accompanist kind of, yeah, that's just my zone. I'm comfortable behind people, you know. But my dad was just, I've run into strangers that have known my dad, and, you know, they just said he was the nicest guy ever. You know, he would help anybody. He was just a really cool guy, you know.
Wow.
So.
Now, all right, just in your early years, did we talked about being in Bronzeville, we talked about Little Flower School. High school, did you go to Dunbar?
No, I went to Hales Franciscan.
You went to Hales?
At first, and I went to Hales until my sophomore year, and Milas Armour was our disciplinarian.
Get out.
Yes.
Wow.
So Mr. Armour had the paddle, and he, you know, but I tell you what happened. During that time, my mom was touring, and Lord Don't Move the Mountain was out, and so at that point, she had let me start playing for her.
Okay.
So literally every Monday I was late for school because we would be on the road, and the flight would get back past 8 o'clock, and I'd get to school late every Monday. So finally Mr. Armour was like, either you're gonna go to high school or either you're gonna travel with your mom, you know. So I ended up leaving Hales, and I went to Central Y, which is a way more relaxed kind of situation.
So you spent, what, a year or two at Hales, and then?
I spent 2 years? No, I finished my freshman year there, and going into my sophomore year, that's when Mr. Armour was like, we can't continue like this. This is nice, but this is school.
Wow.
So I ended up switching high schools.
Okay, so what's this business I hear about you going to school in a limousine?
Wow. My dad, you know, my stepdad, but dad, Wendell Edingberg, he was a mortician in Chicago, and so, you know, he had limousines, you know, that we used for funeral homes and everything. So, you know, when it's time to go to school in the morning, he would take my brothers and I to school in a limousine, and it's so funny, you know that. Let me tell you though, there was one other student who did the same thing, Bobby Parham.
Okay.
It would be 2 limousines sitting in front of Little Flower every day. That's funny. How'd you know that? We sure did. That's hilarious.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about this. So your first job, you said, obviously was in church. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you were playing for Nazarene Delivery?
I was 7 years old when I started there, and it was a friend of my mom's, this lady, her name was Chessie Manning. Okay. And you know, my mom, we were going to Redeeming at the time, and I watched musicians there, and that's what I did. You know, I'd go to church, and after church, it was 3 of us. It was a guy, Herman Adair, Jimmy Johnson, and myself. And every day after church, every Sunday after church, you know, it was my turn to play the organ, you play the drums, and that's what we did, you know. So Miss Manning, you know, she knew I could play, and so Nazarene Deliverance was a small church, and she talked my mom into letting me come and play there. And so at 7 years old, I was teaching grown people songs, and you know.
Now, this is what I hear. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I got kind of some blurred answers when I was trying to find out. I heard you work, I guess, if you're saying you were playing at a job at 7, mm-hmm. I heard you actually started playing around 3.
I played
3 years old, 5 years old.
I 3 or 4. I played. What was the song? The Impossible Dream.
Wow.
And I learned it. This is crazy. I used to watch Jim Neighbors. I used to play stuff off TV, and so if you remember back to Gomer Powell, he sang that one time.
He did.
And I used to. My mom tells me that I used to play on the windowsill all the time. I would just mocking the guy at Redeeming at the church, and so, you know, what I started doing was just picking out what I heard on television. I pick it out on piano.
At 3 years old? So you were a child prodigy. I know you don't want to own it.
I won't say all of that.
I know you don't want to own it, but if you're 3 years old and you're playing, were you playing chords?
I was playing triads, and I was playing chords. Wow. But the thing is, you know, it wasn't. It was like a kid figuring stuff out. But I think it was just growing up with my mom and all these musicians and watching people play the piano, and when they would clear out the room and go eat, I would go and go behind them and try to mimic what they did. But for me, man, playing what I saw on television was just, that was the most funnest thing in the world, you know, is to just go and pick that out. But the first song I remember playing was The Impossible Dream. And it was just like the changes like totally intrigued me, because I had to figure it out, and I wouldn't be satisfied until I got it. Yeah, so
yeah, that's a prodigy. Sir, that's a prodigy. That's what that's called. It's a prodigy. I mean, it is what it is. So, okay, so we're saying 3 to 5, you were playing. When would you say you fell in love with music?
While playing, when I became a state organist with 6th Jurisdiction, and I was working under Ruben Lightfoot, and I got a chance to work with Lucinda Fluker and all of the people in the 6th Jurisdiction. That was actually the first recording I ever did, was with 6th Jurisdiction.
Really?
And the
state choir? Or?
State choir, and the name of the album was Cover Me. And you know, I haven't heard the record in years, but when I listened back to it, once I got older, I was like, oh my God, I'm playing all over the place and just
young guy,
playing all crazy. But I mean, I just kind of fell in love with learning songs and trying to mimic what I heard, and you know, and just, you know, at that point, man, it was kind of like, I'm loving this. I love it. You know?
Wow.
So.
I hear that the first 10 days of every month you fast.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Is that true?
That's very true.
Okay, so tell me about that. Where did that come from?
Well,
because that's an incredible discipline.
You know, I was playing at a Redeeming Church as an adult. There was a period of a few years, like 2 or 3 years, where I wasn't at Central, and I started playing at this church, Redeeming Church of Christ. And so the pastor, Apostle Paul Sutherland, he challenged the church, you know, because you had people in the church who had just issues, addiction issues, who had stuff, you know, just stuff going on with them. And so he challenged the church to go 10 days without eating anything you have to chew. The only thing you could chew was gum. That's how he presented it, you know. And he was just like, you know, we jumped on it, man, you know, because a lot of us had stuff going on and needed breakthroughs, and you know, it was like, okay, this is doable. It sounds doable. It's hard, but the first time I did it, Jamie, I made it through.
Wow.
And for me, man, that was paramount, man, because I had stuff going on that I needed deliverance from, and I needed clarity and everything. And so, you know, we made it through that point at the church. And what happened was later in life, way later in life, that was around my mid-20s that he turned us on to that. And somewhere in my 30s, man, I remembered the cleansing. I remembered the cleansing, and I just remembered how that helped me. And so I just challenged myself, and I just said, you know, honestly, quite honestly, I can be a rascal. So I need to have something that can harness me. I need something that will keep centering me. And so what I did was I just said, well, you know, I'm going to do this, and I've had. It's funny you mentioned. How do you know about that? But anyway, I've had so many people, man, you know, that have said, you know, why do you do that? And, you know, and I can tell them all day it's for the discipline. It's something I learned about. I've even had people tell me, yo, that's nothing but a glorified diet. And, you know, it's like, you know, until you've tried it, until you've done it, and you get the reward of it, it's not even anything I can sell somebody on or convince them, but I know that it helps me, man.
Personally, it's a great discipline.
And it every time I do it, and I'll be honest with you, man, some months it's hard, man. Some months I fall off after 5 or 6 days. I'm human, you know, but it is always my goal, man, to fast and pray during that time and just try to keep my channels clear. So, you know, whatever job I'm going into or dealing with my children or dealing with family or whatever, man, I try to just bring a clean temple to it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's an incredible discipline. When I heard it, I was floored by it. I'm like, man, that's every month?
Every month.
That's amazing.
And I tell you, man, I made it through this month and I feel great. And I got a couple of ailments with my shoulders and so forth, but just inside, my channels are clear. And I'm you know, I feel like I'm ready for this month. And I do this every month just to keep me grounded.
What's up, everybody? This is Jamie Simon.
This is Mandel Brown.
Listen, and we just stopped for 1 second to let everybody know that tonight's program, Talk to Me with Jamie Simon, is brought to you by Del Trey Productions. Now listen, Del Trey Productions is a full-service audio and video productions company. Mandel?
Yeah, we have a lot of projects in store. We have a Facebook page, so check us out on Facebook. It's Del Trey Productions, just as you heard it. And we got some stuff coming up. Check us out.
Yeah, and go and like our page. And also, we want you to follow Talk to Me with Jamie Simon on social media. Go to Instagram, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, like our page. Follow us to stay connected and so that we let you know what's going on with the company and let you know what's going on with the program, all right? So let's get back to the program.
Yeah, we need to get back to this program.
All right, let's get back in, all right? We'll holler at y'all later.
Have a good
All
one.
right.
What do you know about love?
I know that love is real. I know that love can be a challenge, and love is work. You have to work at it. But I know there's no greater reward when it's, you know, extended and given.
Yeah. No doubt. I know you're gonna run from this question, but it's the truth. What does it take as a musician? Well, let me start here. Most people don't know this about you. How many instruments do you play?
I play 5 instruments. I play piano, organ, guitar, bass, and drums, but I get very tired on the drums.
Okay.
This is a lot, but I understand how each instrument works.
Do one man show. So, which of those would you say is your favorite? We would assume it's keys, it's organ, but which would you say?
I enjoy the organ, but I enjoy bass. I enjoy bass. I can't play like Steve Huff and all the cool cats with all the cool stuff, but I just enjoy. I find that when I play with other keyboard players, because I'm a keyboard player, I kind of know their moves, and so it makes things move a lot quicker. So I enjoy the bass. I enjoy organ, and I enjoy the piano.
But if you got to pick one.
Wow. I'd say organ.
Organ?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
just my preference.
Well, that's what we assume, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we would assume.
I enjoy the organ.
Talk to us a little bit about touring. Now, obviously, you've toured with some of everybody. I mean, anybody who's anybody. But talk to us a little bit about touring and being on the road. Just what comes to mind when you think about?
What comes to mind with touring is I've learned it's a discipline that goes with it, and it's a big responsibility. Being on time, being prepared. It's fun to go from city to city, but it's a challenge. You know, if you're not grounded, you know, you can kind of get caught up in the, oh, I'm in New York, so I'm going to go hang out on Broadway or whatever, and you're really there to do your job.
Right.
You know, so you have to be grounded. For me, it's grounded, be on time, and most importantly, be prepared. Don't just show up, because if you show up and you're not ready for the job, it's not going to be a good thing.
How important is it to be professional when you're touring? So if there's some young guys that are musicians that are watching, talk to them. Touring, and tell them something about professionalism.
Know that someone is always watching you. Know that that is to whom much is given, much is required. And you have a lot of people that when they see you on stage, they don't know what it takes to get there. And so, you know, you have to just be concerned about how you carry yourself on stage, off stage, when you're at the hotel, when you're in the street shopping, or whatever you're doing. Someone's always watching, and always be found being an example. You know, because I have honestly had young guys. You know, they'll come up and they'll be like, "Oh man, I learned how to play on, you know, watching you with the Tommies and you know, just all the different things." You know, and I still try to always let them know, you know, in aspiring to do that, you know that it's going to come. What I have learned about professionalism and jobs like that is they're going to come. But the challenge or the thing is to be ready when it comes. So that means while you're watching other people who are having their moment, you keep practicing, you keep playing, you keep honing your craft, you keep playing in every key. And if you can play something in this key, the challenge is the next key. Make sure you're good at be as good as you can. Because what I've learned is the blessing is going to come. It's going to come,
No
but
doubt.
you got to be ready.
No doubt.
You know,
No doubt.
and that's one thing I would just tell people: don't sit around and say, "Oh, it's not my turn yet," and it's just your turn. I promise you, it's gonna come.
Yeah.
It's gonna come, and just be ready.
Great. Favorite key to play in? Least favorite key to play in, if there is one.
Favorite key to play in? Honestly, Jamie, it depends on the song. There are some country kind of quartet songs I love playing in the key of E, which is not a happy key for a lot of keyboard players, but you know, I enjoy playing in E. I enjoy playing I like A for the same reason. A lot of country and guitar stuff, because a lot of my influence was my appreciation for guitar players. So I just kind of always liked their feel and their approach. And so what I try to do in my playing on keyboards is try to master what they do and kind of working together with playing keyboards. So that kind of helped me develop my style, if you will, or whatever. I love guitar players. I wish the piano could bend, and I would do that, you know, but I just really love a great guitar player, and country players and several gospel players, man, that I've had the pleasure of working with, man, and I'm just in awe. I play guitar and I understand the guitar, so I'm kind of always a sponge. Like if there's two guitars around, I'll grab one and do that again. And see, I play upside down, so most guitar players, they, you know, after a while, they're like, okay, you confusing me because this is crazy. But yeah, to answer your question, I like A, I like E. There are too many keys. What happens is you can't really not like a key.
Okay.
Because what I find in church, a lot of times you get deacons that they don't know, but they sing in D. And
Right.
D is just what's comfortable.
Right.
And Nothing is more disheartening or just sad for a keyboard player to be like, well, I play in D flat and I hear y'all in D, but we're just gonna have this big thing going on. And believe it or not, that happens.
Yeah.
You know, so
Sure it does.
what I try to do is everything I can do in my favorite keys. Those are the things that I will go and practice. Is if I can do it in A, I can do it in B flat, which is a popular gospel key, I'll go and play it in D. And sometimes that's a slow thing, but what happens is you keep doing it and you keep doing it, and what happens is it gets under your fingers after a while. But you can't just say, okay, that's D, and I'm not gonna fool with it. You have to fool with it because that's where people sing.
Right.
You know, and yeah, I think that you know, kind of piggybacking on the last thing you were saying, something to tell musicians. If you can play it in your favorite key, learn it in your least favorite. And then you won't have a least favorite.
That's good.
Everything is good.
That's good.
Everything.
So you don't have a least favorite key?
I don't. You
That's
can't.
correct.
I can't. You know, because, you know, like growing up playing for my mom and playing for just the people I've been blessed to play for, they don't play that.
Right.
You're just not going to strike out on another key. They're not going to move.
Right. You better learn, right?
Exactly.
Since we're in that vein, I know you're gonna shrink back from this. You're a master musician. That is what it is. That is what it is. What does it take to be a master?
Well, Jamie, I am not a master.
You are.
Let me say this, man. I think that we continue to learn. We continue, and I, you know, a lot of people may not know, but my favorite keyboard player, organist, if you will, is Stephen Ford. He used to play with Gabriel Hardiman in the delegation, and
Wow.
you know, I got to
I would
play.
have never known that.
I got to play with him, and I say that humbly. He is the man, still to me now. I got to play with him when I was 13, man, and he wowed me.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it was, you know, when I was traveling with my mom during that time, she would just take me out, and it would be piano, and she'd go, get somebody to play bass, get somebody to play, and whatever. So, you know, and we went to a Gabriel Hardiman event, and so I asked Stephen Ford to play, and you know, prior to that, you know, I'm familiar with all this stuff, you know, like Shadrach and all that stuff, where he did all the making the organ whistle and all this craziness. So when I saw this guy, I was like, oh, geez, you know. But anyway, man, he was so gracious, man. He played along with me, man, and he just kind of changed my thinking about the organ, period, man. And every time I got to hear him play somewhere, or when he got with the Winans, wherever he was, I was watching. If he was on it, I was buying it. And so, you know,
But I'm not going to let you off the hook, Richard. What does it take to be a master? You are a master. You're a master musician. That is what it is. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to talk about it. It's the truth. What has it taken you,
you know,
to accomplish what you've accomplished just in playing?
I think that I've been blessed to be in a lot of musical situations, man.
Okay.
You know, traveling with my mom was just another learning situation where, you know, I was put in situations where, you know, she
Talk to me, would you? Talk to me, ooh, yeah. Talk to